Hi, good morning. This is Ma'am Mabel, and now we are going to learn about the second topic in the English 9 third grading, which is bias and prejudice. So, when we say bias, it is a tendency to present or possess a partial viewpoint. So, when we say partial viewpoint, ang tinitingnan mo lang are just half, not the whole. It is also being in favor or against a thing, person, group, or stand compared to another. So, meaning to say, you are in favor or you like just one compared to another choice. Usually, in a way that it is considered not fair. So, you were in because of that, you are favor with that other one, you became unfair. Another is bias in a one-sided perspective. So when we say perspective, that's how you view a thing. So when we say one-sided, you just look at only one side, even though there are other side about the characteristic of that thing or that person, you ignore it because you are just one-sided. And then it is one-sided perspective in the absence of neutral viewpoints. So when we say neutral, there is a balance of your perspective wherein you see every other side. You see the different advantages and disadvantages of the thing or a person. So that's being neutral. But then if you are biased, you are just one-sided. You are just like the other one and you don't want the other one. And then when you say bias, it is about to lean in a certain direction, either in a favor or against something. So it's either you became biased because you really like the other one than the other one, or that other one that you don't like is you are not favor of it. So yun naman sometimes yung hina-highlight mo kasi ayaw mo talaga yon, or yung favor ka, yun naman yung talagang i-highlight mo lang kasi gustong-gusto mo yon. That's being biased. So let's proceed. I have in here example of bias. So I have in here a picture. So the first picture is about an employer or a boss promoting or promoted a man over a more deserving female candidate. So in here, he became biased. It's because pag sinabi natin bias, most of the time there is choices. So in this example, there are two choices. The boys will choose, the man or the employer will choose the man and the woman working in the company. But then the boss in here or the employer only choose the man over the woman. So he became biased in a way. He became unfair for the woman because what he just wanted, or he is in favor to only one, which is the man, right? He became also one-sided in a way. He didn't look the strengths, the skills, the intelligence of the woman. One-sided lang siya. Ang tinitignan lang niyang side yung dun lang sa man na gusto niyang i-promote. That's bias. Another thing, you will know that you are biased if, for example, this one, he is a man and then he is a believer in the religion he involved to. For example, he think most highly of his religion and none other can surpass it. So, for him, his religion is the highest among all and nobody can surpass or makahihigit pa doon. So, he became unfair in a way that siguro kung makakausap natin tong taong ito, one-sided lang siya. Kung ano lang yung believe niya sa religion niya, yun lang yung tama. At yung sa iba na believe ng tao sa religion na yun ay hindi niya pakikinggan. So, that's bias. Another thing is, in this picture, it shows a class president took his best friend's side even when the best friend is wrong. So that's also bias. In a way, the class president became unfair. The class president supposedly be the mediator or the leader. But then in here, imbis na si class president ay manimbang dun sa best friend niya or dun sa ka-argument ng best friend niya, hindi siya nanimbang. He became unfair wherein mas pinabor niya yung side ng kanyang best friend. So that's an example of bias. So as what you see in here, bias most of the time, kilala natin yung thing, alam natin yung bagay, kilala natin yung tao, and then we are in favor between those choices. Meron pinagpipilian pero may isa tayong kinikilingan. That's bias. So to proceed, bias example more is when there is unfairness. Sometimes there are parents, unfortunately, who became unfair if they give your brother a larger allowance even though you do more chores, right? Sometimes, nangyayari sa iba siguro na imbis na pantay lang kayo na allowance, the other one, the brother will get higher than yours. Then, the parents became unfair. Okay? Kasi pareho naman kayo nagagawa ng chores. So, you also feel there is bias if there is favoritism. May paborito. So, for example, in the family, example lang naman, but not all, newborn babies get more attention and time. Right? So, nagiging favorite sila. So, in that case, hindi na napapantay yung attention for you and for the newborn, then there is a bias that is happening. Mas may nagugustuhan kaysa sa isa. Alright, so the next one picture is one-sided, wherein for them, for the rallies, death penalty is not the key in addressing the growing number of heinous crimes happening in the country. So in here, the rallies became one-sided in a way they believe on the thought that death penalty is not the answer for the more or increasing crimes in the country. Okay? So, for them, maybe in prison na lang or lifetime in prison na lang. So, one-sided sila about the death penalty. Para sa kanila, hindi talaga yon ang dapat na maging solusyon. Wherein they didn't think what's the victim feeling, 'di ba? Ano bang mga naranasan ng mga naargabiyado naman kung bakit naman sila yung may gusto ng death penalty. So, hindi nila yung pakikinggan. That's because they are one-sided on that concept. Then that's what we call bias. Okay. There is also a bias if there is a preference. So when we say preference, is liking one thing or a person better than the other. So just like for the examples of the pictures I have in here, there is a choices between a hamburger and fruits. So wherein ikaw ang preference mo, you really like to just eat junk foods like hamburger, yung mga easy, yung mga fast foods, right? Then, you became biased in a way na siguro, lalo na kung you never eat even a little amount of fruits, right? Then, that's being biased. So, again, you will not hear any music aside from K-pop. That's what you wanted. Then, you became biased because you more prefer K-pop than the other. Just like, lalo na pag ang attitude is, you are making sinisiraan yung pop music ng mga US or other countries, no? And then you just build up the K-pop advantage than the other. Then dahil prefer mo yon, then there's bias in there. So as well as if you prefer more on watching Korean movies or telenovela rather than Filipino telenovela, diba? So in there you became biased in a way, lalo na kapag you make comparison within the two. Ito talaga mas maganda, right? So there's a bias. So another as well is when you remember the TikTok wherein you are going on this side, if you are in favor on this character and you're going on this way, if you are in favor in the character, pandak, matangkad, punta ka doon, right? So the preference was practiced in there, then there's also a bias that is happening. Okay, let's proceed. So I have in here a simple practice. You can have it on your mind or you can write it down so you can practice which of these sentences or scenario is showing bias. So we're putting B if it's bias and then wrong, or X if it's not bias. Number 1, a biased person listens and consider all sides of issue. Is it bias or not? Yeah, of course, it's not bias. It's because when we say bias, diba, there is only one side. Number 1 telling us both side ang kino-consider ng isang tao. Then, that is not bias. Number 2, Gerald always bought Safeguard. The family believed that it kills 99% germs even before. So, in here, we see that Gerald has a preference already among all the soap that is existed. So, is that bias or not? Very good. That is bias. Kasi even though there is other choice of soap, Gerald still wanted to have the Safeguard. Number 3, Mr. De Los Reyes' recommendable editorial passage in his column in Philippine Daily Inquirer about the barangay tanod that strictly implementing curfew hours. So, meaning to say, a writer, De Los Reyes, make a commendable article regarding about the barangay tanod on what they do on the curfew days or curfew hours. Is that being biased? Is the writer in here became biased or not? If your answer is biased, then that's correct. Number 4, even John and Carlo are best friends. They didn't spoil each other. They are true and honest to each other. So, are the best friends in here became biased with the the relationship for both of them. Is there bias in here or not? If you answer bias, then that's correct. Okay, perfect. If you answer, if you answer it's not bias, then that is correct. It's because there is no bias in here kasi nga, John and Carlo are honest with each other. So, hindi nila ini-spoil ng isa't isa. Pag may mali, sasabihin talaga. So, that is not an example of being biased. Okay, so let's proceed. I have in here also some example. For example, in number 1, is there's a bias if the contestant won, it's because the father is one of the judges. Is there's a bias happening here? If you answer bias, then that's correct. And number 2, a company accepting all the people who are capable to work in there. It doesn't matter if you are old or young. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man. They will hire you as long as you are competent and a qualified na nag-a-apply. Okay? So, is there's bias in here? Bias ba ang company o hindi? So, if you answer it's not biased, then that's correct. Walang bias doon kasi pantay-pantay yung pagtingin ng company. Number 3, there is a choices between 2 drinks. Okay? A coffee and a tea. But then, you choose coffee all of the time. Kahit umaga, kahit gabi, you will just drink coffee. You are really a coffee drinker. Okay? Is the person choosing coffee over tea shows bias or not? So, perfect. There is bias in there. Okay? Kasi may preference, may pinagpipilian. Okay, let's move on. So, I have in here next a picture wherein I will just read the dialogue. The first box telling us, I don't want blacks living in my neighborhood. I don't want Jews owning businesses in my town. And the last one, I don't want a Muslim community center in Lower Manhattan. So the question there, do you believe that the dialogue shows equality? Perfect. There is no equality in here. Why? Because the speakers in here don't want other people such as black, or the color of your skin is black, they don't want you living in their neighborhood. The other one don't want Jews, and then the other one don't want a Muslim. So there's no equality in here. They are not accepting the other. So that is an example of prejudice. So when we say prejudice, it is an opinion formed before getting to know relevant facts of a case and or situation. So when we say opinion was formed, meron ka na agad haka-haka dun sa isang tao. It could be in a person, it could be in a case or in a situation before getting to know what is really happening. So, nagbibigay ka na agad ng opinion mo, ng haka-haka mo, ng masasabi mo. That's prejudice. If you remember if you remember the Itbulaga contest about bawal ang judgmental, yon. So, nagpo-form ka na agad ng pag-judge, ng opinion, ng masasabi sa isang tao, sa isang sitwasyon ng hindi mo pa nakikilala or hindi mo pa nalalaman ang katotohanan or factual information. Another, it is a preconceived notion. So, when we say conceive, it's concept, and then you already have a before concept, or what do we call assumption. So, when we say assumption, it is for you, even without basis for you, it's already the truth. Para sa'yo, ganun talaga, totoo talaga. Okay? That's assumption. Made about someone on something prior to obtaining enough knowledge to guarantee accuracy. So, nagkakaroon ka na agad ng concept bago mo pa man malaman kung ano yung mga information or kung tama ba talaga yung mga or without knowing kung ano ba talaga ang katotohanan. It's just like in a layman way, in the shortest way or easiest way to understand prejudice, it's prejudgment, no? Nag-iisip ka na agad, hindi mo pa kilala, hindi mo pa nakakasama, hindi mo pa na-experience. Okay? And then in prejudice, there is discrimination. It could be an act of a prejudice. When we say discrimination, inilalayo mo yung sila sa'yo, di ba? Or nilalayo natin ang sarili natin sa kanila. The words that can be associated with prejudice are preconception, yun nga, yung kanina. Meron ka na agad concept or idea regarding about sitwasyon, sa tao or sa isang bagay, even though hindi pa naman napapatunayan. First impression, di ba? First impression is just like when you see someone, you already have a thinking about it. Just like, hindi siya neat magdamit, no? Mga sira na yung mga damit niya, siguro hindi siya gagawa ng mabuti. Ay, butas na yung mga t-shirt niya. Ay, hindi siya nagti-t-shirt. Siguro, basagulero siya. That's first impression. You already have a preconception, even you don't know what is the personality of that person. Dahil lang sa damit, di ba? Nadjudge mo na siya. That's prejudice. Assumption, kanina na-explain na yan. Stereotyping. Stereotyping is wherein, ganun din, para meron na sa yung, meron ka ng concept sa isang bagay or sa isang tao agad. Just like, for example, kapag mayaman, maarte, yun, that's stereotyping. Kapag sa slum area nakatira, maingay, madaldal, diba? Ganun yung mga stereotyping. Or kapag nagsasalamin, ibig sabihin nerd, yun, that's stereotyping. Pag nakakita ka ng mga ganung tao, meron ka na agad naka-concept, naiisip, even you don't know them at all. Overgeneralization is wherein sinasakop mo na ganun talaga sila. For example, ang mga ages 40 years old must not be employed because they are already weak. In-overgeneralize mo. Lahat ng 40 years old dapat hindi na nagtatrabaho kasi mahihina na sila. Gine-generalize mo na lahat talaga. So, that is an example of prejudice. So, these are the words associated with prejudice. So, let's proceed more. So, an example as well is discriminating persons with disability. No? For example, hindi na pwedeng mag-hire ng mga tao na disabled. It's because they cannot comply with the work. That's prejudice. You don't know what's the ability, you don't know what's the talent or the intelligence of disabled people, but then you are already giving judgment on them. Dinidiscriminate mo na sila sa employment na hindi sila pwedeng ma-involve doon. Another thing is judging a person to his or her physical appearance, wherein kapag maitim, yung kulay niya, medyo dark siya, so para sa'yo, hindi siya mabuting tao. Okay? But that is not true. That's prejudice. It's because you are judging a person, even though hindi mo pa nga siya nagiging friends, you never talk to him, right? So that's an example. So let's proceed with more prejudice. An individual may be prejudiced against others based on the factors such as race, age, gender, sexual, class status, religion, nationality, or ethnicity. So, meaning to say, prejudice can happen with these different factors. So, isa-isahin natin siya. So, prejudice can happen in race. So, when we say race, it is talking about the color of the skin. So, we know that there is a black race. So, yun na yun sa mga maiinit na lugar. So, sila yung medyo black ang skin. So, yung mga the next one is the Australoid. Ito yung mga race na ang color ng skin is from Australian part. And then the Capoid race, we also have the Mongoloid, which is Oriental race. Possible, we belong here. Ito yung mga kulay natin kasi we are from the Orient. We are Oriental eh. And then the Caucasoid or the white race, ito na yung sobrang mapuputi. So, when we say race, it talks about the color of the skin. So, how does prejudice happen? Example, itong dialogue, I don't want blacks living in my neighborhood. So, the man in here is prejudicing black people or the color of the skin is black. Whenever, saan ka pagaling, basta gano'n ang kulay mo, no? So, ayaw nila sa'yo. Then, that's prejudice. It's because you are judging them. You don't like them. So, example pa is black are good slaves. Kaya ito, I don't want black living in my neighborhood. They are drug lords. So, you are giving a preconception, meron ka na agad assumption na kapag black people, drug lords. Another, kapag black people, they are slaves, alipin. That's prejudice. Okay? Prejudice can happen if it is about by age. Okay? For example, we have ages like young people, old people. Young people are physically and mentally superior to older people. Even if it's not proven because you said that, then that's prejudice. So when we say prejudice, you never know who the people are, but then you're giving concept right away and judging them. Kapag bias, kilala mo sila and or minsan choices mo sila and then may pinapanigan kang isa. Okay, yun yung difference nila. Another example, prejudice of age, young people are indifferent and reckless. That's prejudice because you are overgeneralizing that pag young people, they are reckless. Magulo sila. Another, old people are weak and not capable of employment. There's no, you judge that old people can never work. You don't know. Old people are more better because they have a lot of experience, right? But if you say the third bullet in there, then that's an example of prejudice. Prejudice can happen if there is in gender. For example, this company only hires men. So when we say gender, mga anak, dalawa lang yan. It could be men or women. But when we say sex, then there's a lot of sex preference, just like the LGBT. Okay, yun yung difference ng dalawa. So, sa gender, example is this company only hires men for women are not capable of heavy machines. So, you are overgeneralizing that women cannot work for machines. But that is not true. Diba? Hindi mo pa nga, even though hindi mo pa na-try or na-experience na magkakaroon ng worker na malalakas, may mga babae malalakas. Firing a woman from her job upon learning of her pregnancy is a hindrance to work. So, the boss believed that kapag buntis, dapat pina-fire na kasi hindi na makakapag-work ng maayos. But that is not true. You don't know. Maybe the pregnant woman is more inspired than before. So, that's prejudice. Another is prejudice in terms of factors of sex preference. I don't want LGBT community in my city. They are not human. Assuming someone is a gay because of the way he acts, punch and kick at cause desert. So, mapapansin nyo, di ba, may mga discrimination, may overgeneralizing, tinitink mo agad na ganun sila, hindi mo pa naman sila nakakasama. Prejudice in class status, just like, what are the example of class status? Poor, rich, and middle, right? So, posting negative comments on social media about economic status of the family, then that's prejudice. Why is she selling goods here in subdivision? How did she enter here? So, in here, parang ito yung dialogue dito sa picture, right? Parang sinasabi ng babae dito, kung iisipin natin, nakakadiri naman, bakit nakakapagtinda yan dito? So, you think that pag mahirap at nagtitinda ng gulay, then pumasok sa isang subdivision exclusive, then nakakadiri na ba siya? Right? People living in a slum areas will get their relief goods in gymnasium. As what you see in here, pag mahirap or sa slum areas ka nakatira, dun ka sa gym kukuha ng relief good mo. Then there's discrimination. Inilalayo tayo sa na dapat ay equal lang. Kung saan kukuha iba, dun din dapat lahat. Pero hindi ganun yung nangyayari. So there's prejudice. Alright, so prejudice in terms of religion. Example, avoiding Muslim because they are terrorists, and that is not true. Muslim are not terrorists. Looking other people unholy because they eat pig. Judging your neighbor killjoy because they didn't celebrate Christmas, then that's prejudice. And then nationality or ethnicity, okay? Mocking and bullying Chinese neighbors, as what you see there. May Chinese na bata, no? Ginagawa ng kalaro niya, di ba? Parang ginagaya yung pagkasingkit ng mata niya. Then that's prejudice. Believing that Africans are poor. Whenever you see Africans, isip mo talaga mahirap silang lahat. No, you never know. There are also some Africans who are rich and businessmen. Alright, so in here, let us try. So we are just going to identify if the scenario is bias or prejudice. Angel is ugly because she has curly hair. What do you think is the answer? The answer is prejudice, right? Dahil lang curly hair, pangit na. It's not that way, okay? Mother bought new laptop to his eldest because he is a consistent owner, then that's bias. It's because why does siya lang ang binilan ng laptop, why the other no? Third, a well-educated and wealthy man will not marry someone from a lower income household, believing that such a woman wouldn't be able to function among the upper classes. Is it prejudice or bias? Yung na-feel ng woman dito. Kasi mahirap siya, so ibig sabihin hindi siya pwede pakasalan kasi hindi niya kaya makibagay sa upper class. That's prejudice. According to Quicksilver Company, their cosmetics have better quality than the other company. So, this company believe that yung cosmetics lang nila ang the best among the rest. Kahit ano pa yung mga cosmetics na yan. Is this bias or prejudice? Well, that's bias. Perfect. Okay, so now let us proceed with how are you going to answer the activity on your layup. I will explain it. So now, since we are ECQ, we are not allowed to pass the paper in school visibly. So, kung possible na ma-answeran to sa papel at i-picture, then i-send, much better. So, ito yung laman ng inyong layup. Learning task 1, you need to copy the diagram, pakikopya sa papel, then choose kayo ng tag 5 na bias and 5 words which is associated for bias, 5 words associated for prejudice. Learning task 2, answers only for 1 to 10. You just need to say yes if the statement is telling true. You need to put no if the statement is false or incorrect. So, learning task 3, sunod-sunugin na lang in one paper. There is a scenario or situation. You are just going to complete yung sentence. This is a form, for example, in number 1, this is a form of bias. It's because there is, you can use the associated words that we've learned a while ago. Di ba, pag bias, there is favoritism. You can put that because there is favoritism happen in here. It's because you can elaborate more if you wanted to. So, that is 1 to 5. Just answers only. Okay? And then, learning task 4, in this one, hindi natin gagawin to nasa layup. Okay? Ang gagawin natin is itong yung viral video na lugaw, if you are aware of it. So, learning task po, hindi gagawin, papalitan ng paggawa ng essay about the viral video lugaw. I know you can be able to have access in here kasi talagang kalat na kalat itong video na to and it's current event. So, maganda rin na mapag-usapan natin ito ng matimbang natin so you can determine which is bias and prejudice. Okay? So, after you watch the video, you need to make an essay. So, performance task is make an essay to form a decision on the viral video of lugaw. State who shows bias and prejudice. Sasabihin nyo kung sino doon sa nakita nyo sa video ang nagpakita ng bias at prejudice. Listen carefully because in third grading, we need to practice listening skills. So, you need to listen carefully and get a line or dialogue and prove that it is a bias or prejudice. So, there is the rubrics how you can get points. You are able to differentiate the two on your essay, 10 points. The grammar is correct. It must be written in English and consider the grammar, 10 points. Persuasive or argumentative, ako ay nadadala, no, naiintindihan ko, nakaka-catch ng aking attention ng yung essay, 10 points. Timeliness, it's because we need to put a perfect score dun sa mga bata na nagpapasa agad within the time limit. Okay, hanggang next week ito, so you can pass it there. Pero pag lumagpas na, we will deduct the 10 points. And you need to state a dialogue that you heard from the video, which is an example of bias or prejudice. So, I have here an example. So, first, let's divide essay. Essay is an analytical, interpretative, or critical literary composition. So, you need to compose a paragraph. It must be analytical, naintindihan, diba? Interpretative, you interpret what you watch, okay? It is critical, talagang pinag-aralan mo yung susulat mo. Usually, much shorter, maiksi lang, but it is systematic, maayos, and it is formal, no slang words, diba? Formal words. So, essay must starts with the introduction. So, you need to put a hook sentence or hook phrases. It could be in a question form. Pwede rin kayong to definition. You can define the words or the important words that you will tackle on your essay. You can put also a quotes wherein you believe that quotes is associated with the video or the essay that you're going to make. Okay? So here's my example. After the introduction is your body. So in here you will discuss your argument. So upon watching and listening the Bible video, ito example ko lang lugaw, I see that there is a bias and prejudice made by the barangay tanod. Prejudice when she say, bawal ang tambay may order. This is what I told you that you need to state a dialogue or a line. So sinabi kasi to, so in-state ko dyan. Is she claiming that the writer is a bystander? It's prejudice because she judged that the writer is just a bystander and not doing his job as a writer. She is judging the action of the writer without analyzing or knowing it first. It is followed by her dialogue. Hindi nyo ba naiintindihan? So, there's prejudice in here. Kasi nga, she has already a preconception regarding about the action of the writer. Feeling niya hindi nag-work. Feeling niya tumatambay lang doon. Right? And I also quote. So, I can get the points in there. To continue, on the other hand, she is bias in a concept between IATF and ECQ. I quote, "Hindi ba alam ng grab yan? Ang grab po sumusunod lang po sa IATF," the writer said. "May IATF nga kayo pero ECQ tayo, sir," the barangay tanod said. Even she heard that the grab is following IATF, she ignored it and she is biased towards ECQ. So, hindi siya nagli-listen doon na yung grab driver ay following din naman ng IATF. Naka-focus lang siya, one-sided lang siya na ECQ ECQ tayo, may curfew. Okay? So, in this way, I already stated bias, example of bias, and example of prejudice. Nag-quotes pa ako. So, ganito po yung ating gagawin. Okay? So, let's proceed. After that, you are going to do the assessment part wherein you are just answers only, right? B if it's bias and P if the example is prejudice. Then, do the reflection below. Kukumpletuhin nyo lang yan. I learned that. Okay? So, here are the list of what you are going to do for week 2 for English. Okay? So, learning task 1, learning task 2, learning task 3, essay, pwede po siyang digital. When I say digital, pwede nyo siyang gawin in your phone kung meron kayong access to make Microsoft Word, mag-type sa phone, or kaya may mga laptop, or kaya may mga computer, pwede kayo mag-type doon, then isend sa akin. Or written, pwede isulat sa paper, then picturean, isend sa akin. Then after that, you are going to make the assessment, ito yon, and the reflection. Okay? Alright, let's proceed. However, there is also a way wherein we are have a Google form or link. Ito yung pwedeng gawin ng mga student na malakas ang internet at maayos ang gadget kasi kaya ng internet nila or gadget nila na mag-open ng Google form. So, I will send the link wherein pag kinik niyo yung link na yun, ito yung lalabas. So, dito na kayo mag-answer. Mas maganda kasi may papasa nyo na sa akin. Hindi na kayo pupunta sa school to pass the paper to me. Diba? Ito yung makikita ng mga magkiklik ng form. So, sa first part, you are going to state your email address. Kailangan nyo isupply yan kasi pag hindi nyo sinupply yung information, hindi siya mag-next. You need to put your name, you put your section, email address again, then the cell phone number. After that, put next, then you will go on the next page. Next page is the learning task 1. Ito yung diagram kanina na kung sa papel sasagutan ay kokopyahin. Pero sa Google form, ay hindi na siya naka-diagram. I-click nyo na lang yung unfair na word is that bias or prejudice. Yung favoritism, bias ba yan or prejudice? I-click nyo na lang yan kung saan siya nabibilong or associated yung words na yan. Learning task 2, 1 to 10 as well. If the sentence is telling true, you click yes or click no. So, hindi na kayong susulat, diba? Pag sa Google form kayo magsasagot, you just need to answer it. Learning task 3, you just need to determine if the situation is bias or prejudice. Just click. And then learning task 4 or the assessment, ito na yon, you are going to look at the situation if it's bias or prejudice. And then that's it. Meron ka na agad 4 na learning tasks. Hindi ka nagsulat. Right? And then click submit so you can send it to me. And then at the last part, you just need to have complete the sentence for the reflection. And then click submit, makukuha ko na yung sagot ninyo. Meron ka ng layup week 2. Okay? So I hope you learn a lot today. And I hope that you always keep safe. See you again on my next video. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy studying and God bless. Bye!